Hello friends, welcome to another episode of the TFC audio project. In this short episode of Health Conversations, I have a chat with Olivia Urquhart, who I'm traveling right now in Australia, about high heels. It's a short one, but after an interesting experience the day before we recorded, when she chose to wear high heels on New Year's Eve, something she hadn't done for a while, I figured it was a good opportunity to have a chat and get a woman's perspective on wearing high heels. No sponsors for this one. Hope you enjoy.
It's the TFC audio project.
It's a collective effort. Help people understand their bodies, starting at the feet are the gateway for people to see that there's an issue. You know, a foot conversation is always a whole body conversation.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us for an episode of our new show, Health Conversations. It's where we're going to feature guests from a wide variety of topics in the health world. And my guest today for this episode is Olivia Urquhart, who is the human behind Live Fit Ottawa and someone I'm currently traveling with in Australia. So today's talk is going to be about high heels. It's currently the first day of 2019, and after having an interesting chat last night about it, about the heels she chose to wear, we figured it would be a good conversation to have on the podcast. I think Mike and I have a single perspective, and getting a woman's point of view on heels, and especially about her experience last night wearing heels after having switched to more functional footwear pretty much full time, and going back to wearing what I would consider aggressive heels after a long hiatus from them would be an interesting chat. So maybe let's start by Liv, why don't you introduce yourself and let us know what you're all about before we get into it.
Okay, hello everyone. I'm Olivia Urquhart. I am a personal trainer and future RMT. I am a health and wellness enthusiast, and I'm about the only person on the planet that can tell Nick what to do.
Yeah, that's true. So as a plug, we are going to be teaming up to make a delicious fuel ball in 2019. We figure, on seminars and stuff like that, it's nice to have a snack that gives you a good amount of fuel, low in sugar, high in deliciousness, packed with fat. So we're going to get to work on that in a couple weeks when we get back to Canada. So stay tuned for that. Okay, so as a male and someone interested in foot health, I have my own opinion about high heels, and it seems to be something that we often have a conversation about that sometimes gets heated. So I think let's unpack high heels, in particular with an interest of kind of your experience last night. And just for the record, I never tell Olivia not to wear high heels. The only rule is if she chooses to wear them, she's not allowed to complain about sore feet when she wears the shitty shoes. So why don't we get a start and talk about why you wear high heels? Because I think every time I ask you that, the answer's a bit interesting. And I think what you think the answer is not... Anyway, let's start with that. Why do you wear high heels? Just one sec. I'm going to close this window. Oh, that did not work as well. I think I broke the window. We're in an Airbnb right now, so it might not be the best audio quality, but we'll figure we'll give it a go. So, why do you wear high heels? Why do you think you wear high heels?
When I do wear heels occasionally, I think it looks better with my outfit, firstly. Second of all...
What do you think it looks better? Because I agree, but what do you think looks better about it?
Well, everyone knows that it accentuates your butt, so you get that interior tilt. I think it makes your legs look longer, and I think overall it just makes you feel yourself. You have a better vibe.
Okay, feel yourself is very wishy-washy, but you just like the way you way you look in heels, right? That's the biggest thing. At its core, you like the way your body looks when you wear high heels, correct?
Yes, but not over flats. It's just certain outfits look better with heels. I don't think...
What kind of outfits?
I don't think every dress... certain type of dress, it wouldn't look good with flats.
Okay, and this is the conversation that we have often is I always say you think it looks better because it makes your body look better to guys. And you're like, well, no, it just makes me feel better. It's like, but you don't realize that is why you like the look of it. It's just this. Obviously, my perspective is very skewed. I don't wear high heels, although watching how you walked last night and how strange it was, considering it had probably been a while since you worn heels, right?
Yes, I think I don't even remember. Oh, the last time I wore heels was at a wedding I went to in September.
Okay, so it had been a while, and in general, you're not wearing heels as frequently. Not of
No.
my doing. Just I just think now that you pretty much switched over to barefoot shoes, I would say full time. You're either in barefoot shoes. Obviously, TFC shop's got a nice array that you have access to, or you're barefoot, and you actually have extremely functional feet. I'm kind of surprised. So why don't we start with how the hell do you have such functional feet? Let's start with that, because apart from a little tailor's bunion that you've got from wearing Chuck Taylor's serving, you can splay your toes out very wide. You actually have fairly strong feet. So how did that materialize? Like, why do you think that was?
I think it started growing up. My parents were always very conscious of my footwear. They never let me wear heels or anything that would restrict them. Mm-hmm. And I grew up in the country and I was always barefoot. I never really had shoes on, always running around. Used to run on gravel, something I'm very proud of.
Yeah, that's what you mentioned that this morning, how you literally could run down a gravel road. And I think that, do you think you could still do that?
To a certain extent, I wouldn't be able to full out sprint, but I am barefoot enough at home and walking around at school. My shoes are always off. Mm-hmm. When I treat patients, my shoes are normally off, or I'm wearing barefoot shoes. So I'd say probably, but definitely not to the degree that I used to be able to, just because that was my norm. I didn't know anything different, so I did it constantly.
So you grew up barefoot more than not. Outside, especially, going barefoot, your parents didn't let you wear probably some shoes that you wanted to wear, like those plastic high heels that you're talking about when you were younger.
Yeah. All the other girls got to wear them except for me. Yeah.
And you're pissed at your parents, but now looking back, they probably saved the function of your feet. So, and even like, that's where it starts, right? All those, I remember you saying that you were mad at your parents for not letting you wear these cute little shoes that all the other girls would wear when, I don't know how old you were when that happened, but that's when it starts, right? You're literally brainwashed to wear these terribly non-functional pieces of footwear because it's something that girls do, or it's something that looks cute. And I think that's where it starts, right? In terms of women's fashion footwear.
Yeah, I guess. And I think you also grow up watching your mom wear certain things. I think that's kind of how girls get into makeup too. They see their mom getting ready, putting makeup on. Oh, I want to too. And they do that kind of stuff. So I think a lot of girls see their mom wearing heels or older women wearing heels, and they kind of want to do that too. Or basically all the princesses in all Disney movies for the most part are wearing heels too. So
true. Yeah, I never even thought of that, but that's another big influence. You just kind of get brainwashed. Obviously, as a guy, as a male, I don't get that, which is probably part of the reason that I don't quite understand. I understand why women wear heels in terms of the way it makes them look, but I don't understand how the benefit of exaggerating your female parts is worth the punishment of destroying your feet.
But I think you use brainwash in a very severe context. I don't think it's quite that intense. It's just that's the view that you've always grown up with, and you always see women when they go out or are going to dinner or going to an event, everyone's always wearing heels with their dresses. So that's just something you've grown up with. It's not necessarily brainwash. It's just a cultural thing. It's like an intrinsic cultural norm that isn't spoken about. Said you have to wear heels to look a certain way or make a certain impression. It's more of an intrinsic cultural thing where you just kind of grow up and that's the way you always see it. So that's the way that you, I guess, interpret you need to dress.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not being harsh with the word brainwash. I'm just saying that when you look at a little kiddie movie that Walt Disney made, Walt Disney's a G, awesome guy, but if you put high heels on a princess in a movie made to be watched by like 5 or 6 year olds, you can use a different word if you want, but you're brainwashing them to wear heels. You're saying that heels is what's attractive for women to wear. And like you said, your parents, your grandparents, all that kind of stuff, you probably just mimic that probably much more than anything else. So, okay, let's talk about the experience of wearing heels last night. So it was New Year's Eve.
Oh, God.
You basically were just like, you know what? I'm wearing heels. I know they're not good for me. And I told you, I'm like, I'm not going to say anything about your heels, but you're not allowed to complain about having sore feet. And I counted the amount of complaints, and you did not stop whining about how much your feet hurt, and you walked weird. That was the biggest thing I noticed, is like you used to be able to walk in heels like real smooth and flowing, and you kind of looked a bit robotic because I think you're just not used to the weirdness of heels. So talk about that.
Well, I wanted to wear heels. I don't know why. I just felt like it. I hadn't worn heels at all. I brought one pair on this trip, and I figured this was the only night I was going to get to wear them. So I was debating it, and by the time I even got from our Airbnb to the elevator, I was already regretting my decision, but I committed. I couldn't let Nick win this one.
Yeah, it was the pride. I knew it. I knew you would do that. It was the pride of not giving in and letting me win.
So anyways, I committed to it, and I'm a very competitive person. So I was determined to wear them the whole night. And yeah, honestly, after the first street, I was pretty over it, and I gave in to the complaining. Mainly, I noticed that I was forefoot striking. Is that what you call it?
Yeah, you were hitting. Well, you weren't forefoot striking. The heel was hitting first, but you were like smacking down.
Yeah,
like, it literally sounded like a horse.
So I
walk.
was heel striking so hard that the front of my foot was slapping the ground, basically. Mm-hmm. So that was really weird. And yeah, I used to be good in heels, but again, I used to wear heels more, and just knowing how heels and learning more since meeting you, how heels affect more or less my training and how my feet are. Mm-hmm. I then became more barefoot conscious, and I also just don't go anywhere fancy anymore, mainly just because I'm a student. I don't really have that opportunity, so I'm not really in heels. So I think I lost the ability, or maybe I'm better functionally, and that's why it's harder for me to walk in heels. So it did feel robotic.
But it's like walking in heels is a skill. Like, I'm sure fashion girls that go on the runway.
It's absolutely
regularly.
A skill.
Yeah, I understand why they practice it, because it's weird as shit. I actually kind of wanted to put them on, not in public, but I even told you that. I'm like, I kind of want to feel this firsthand. Just like I need to take the perspective of understanding. I understand why they're worn and the background of that, but I think you're way more body aware of your gait patterns now. So like the things you were mentioning, you're like, I literally feel my low back getting compressed. This was after like 10 minutes of wearing these things. So talk about that.
Yeah, I think
What did you feel?
Well, I noticed that I had quite the tilt automatically because my heels were lifted. I was walking on ramps. So
just talk about what do you mean by the tilt? Your pelvis tilted anteriorly? So your hip bone tilted forward. So if your hip bone was a bowl, the water's spilling forward. To compensate, I was having to arch my low back more to kind of stay upright. Yeah. Otherwise, I just kind of fall forward. Which pushes the booty out a little bit. Yeah. Like it exaggerates the butt. That's one of the features. That obviously guys like.
So I noticed that kind of my low back was feeling a little bit weird. My feet were slapping the ground. And actually, one thing I did hurt my ankle just from playing soccer last winter. And I haven't felt any pain in that ankle until last night when I started to wear those heels. It was completely healed. It's a healed injury. And I guess just because I'm barefoot all the time and I don't really notice it because I healed it properly and rehabbed properly. But last night being in heels, I felt such a pinch of my talus, and felt like it was like crushing or molding my foot in a really weird position. So that was interesting. But yes, definitely the walking alone was very difficult, and then let alone the blisters that I got. Yeah,
so as just a little aside here, someone was bleeding after about an hour of wearing these things just from the straps where they were rubbing.
It wasn't an hour. It was like 2.
Yeah, but you got that blister way early on in the evening. Anyway, the point is,
yes.
Her ankle and her foot got beat up pretty good, and it was all in the name of experimenting and wearing heels. And I think looking back, would you wear them again to go out?
No. And to be fair, when I do go out and I know I'm going out for a long period of time, I will pick an outfit that looks better with flat shoes because I know that my feet are going to hurt. And I mean, when we used to go to the bars and stuff in university, I would wear heels, regret it after an hour, but I'd be drinking and I wouldn't really feel my feet that much until the next day when my toes would be numb. But
tell you what, you said your little toe would go numb for 3 days and you thought that was just normal?
I thought that was normal.
That's
because
so whack. You get compression neuropathy and you just think, oh, that's just what happens.
No one ever told me it wasn't normal, and everyone's feet, and it's the norm. Again, the same thing with everyone wearing heels. It's you kick your shoes off. Oh, my feet are sore after a long day. I just thought, I was cruising around on the dance floor last night. My feet probably hurt. But yeah, my second toe always went numb for like 2 or 3 days, and I just assumed that was normal, and that was part of the deal with wearing heels.
Nice. And you don't always have to have, like a couple things. You don't always have to have perfect shoe selection, right? Like you might go out, they might not be completely flats and like pure function, but they might not be like, how big were the heels that you wore last night?
Those are actually my lowest heel.
But how big is that? Because I think that's aggressive.
I don't know, probably like 2-3 inches.
No way. It's for sure 3 or 4. Anyway, okay, we'll measure it after.
Deal.
So yeah, I think, I don't know. It would have been a more enjoyable night if you didn't have foot pain, right?
Definitely, we could have cruised around more after dinner.
Like we limited the amount of walking we were doing because at one point you just blasted the heels off and the heels were just dragging by the ankle strap. Super classy as you're galloping down the street.
I gave up.
But yeah, I think so knowing what you know now and the fact that you're probably have healthier feet than what you used to have, what would you say are the biggest reasons that women are still wearing heels? And is there something that they could be, from your perspective and what you know now, that they could be told to not stop them from wearing heels, but maybe get them more interested in the effects of heels, right? Because I think probably a lot of women are just used to these things. They develop a skin tolerance to the strap, so they're not going to get blisters. They're going to start bleeding. Their feet have literally morphed into the shape of a heel, so they don't get necessarily as much foot pain, but they don't understand that it's literally disfiguring their foot to a non-functional foot. Can you speak to anything to any women that are listening to this from your perspective of like what they can do to adjust how much they're wearing them, or just understand that they got to work on their feet after they wear heels?
I think it should just be a disclaimer or a well-known fact that your feet are not going to feel well after wearing heels. And to offset them, use a lacrosse ball, roll your foot out. Like you just damaged your foot for a couple hours. Just take enough time to kind of rehab them and do the same thing as if you were to run a marathon. Your body would be really sore the next day, so you're going to rehab it. Hashtag
it shouldn't be sore if you're running correctly, but yes, I know what you mean. It's like drinking, right? I will drink a glass of wine or several glasses of wine, knowing full well that it's not good for my body, but I like the feeling of having a couple glasses of wine sometimes, right? You do it because it's worth the cost is worth the benefit. I just think that a lot of women don't understand the depth of the cost, and a lot of them don't connect. My feet are messed up with the shoes I'm wearing, and that's all we're trying to do is get the education out there, because at the end of the day, adults can make whatever decisions they want, but they need to know the good information to make a good decision. That's where I find the lack is.
I feel like if you remember how I was saying that I just thought having numb toes for a couple of days after was normal. Mm-hmm. If it was made more aware that that actually isn't normal, any numbness or tingling you're feeling in your lower extremities is probably from compression of something or not wearing proper footwear.
Okay, well, I think you just made that known. So thank you.
I think that if that was a more well-known topic, or maybe even a quick 5-minute guide on restoring your feet after heels for women, I think that would be a huge thing to kind of combat that. And yeah, like you said, it's nice once in a while. I think regular use, probably not the best, but I definitely think just taking time to restore the damage that you did to offset it is fine. And as long as you're not doing it on a regular occasion and it's kind of, this is a special occasion footwear, then that's probably fine. Yeah. You don't need to cut them out completely.
Exactly. And just take the time to offset the effects that the heels have had, right? Spend some time in toe spreaders. Spend some time opening up your foot with a lacrosse ball and just releasing some of the tension that got created. And even people complaining about tight ankles, if you spend a lot of time in heavily heeled footwear, your ankles are going to be tight. How could they not? Your body detuned itself from being on your toes and with the heel lift. But for someone who wears those often, their body's tuned to having their heel lifted. When you go to something that's flat, it feels weird, right? Someone going from wearing heels regularly or heel lifted footwear, not necessarily just high heels, going to something that's flat is probably as weird as you being flat almost all the time going to heels. Think of how weird it felt walking.
I definitely do think it would feel weird, but I think weird in a different way. Like they'd probably be getting more of an actual stretch finally through like gastroc soleus and all that versus me feeling unbalanced. There's no way that you could go from wearing heels constantly to flat-footed and feel the same unbalanced way that you're going in the reverse.
Yes, I agree. But what you call stretch through their calf, some people call Achilles tendonitis or tendinopathy, right? Like that can be literally painful to walk around in flats or something that's flat for a long time, let alone run, right? The biggest thing is like women whose heel cords have tightened because they're always in heels, and they go and run in a flat shoe, they're asking for major trouble. So they just have to, people just need the right information, I think is probably the moral of that story. And once you start to pay attention to your foot health, the cost and benefit of wearing high heels, even for a short evening, when you get home and you have blood dripping from your leg, probably changes things a little bit.
I feel like once you understand the terrible side effects of heels and knowing that it's probably going to limit your night and your time out because you're not going to want to be uncomfortable. So you're going to be more on edge, more agitated. You're just going to want to get home to kick them off. I think overall, that's kind of the conversation I have in my head. Am I going to be sitting a lot for the evening? How long are we going to be walking around? And those shouldn't be considerations. If I'm going out for the night to have an experience or go have dinner, in the back of my mind, I shouldn't be calculating the minutes that I'm going to be sitting versus walking on what I should be wearing on my feet. And I think a lot of times I opt for even buying a nicer pair, more expensive sandals that are a little bit fancier, that would look good with more things. And so I don't have to wear heels. And I would way rather be able to walk around and enjoy my night than do what I did last night.
Yeah, exactly. All right. That's kind of all we wanted to cover. Quick little short episode. I think it was just, it's nice to have a female perspective, especially if it's not fair for Mike and I to constantly chirp high heels when we never wear them. So getting the perspective of a female about, why you wear them, how that view has changed, adjusting away from heels and then going back and wearing them and seeing what kind of effects that has on you. Hopefully the audio turns out decent quality. We're literally in an Airbnb bedroom right now. There's crickets and I couldn't close the window because I think I might have broken the window a little bit, but anyway, I'll figure that out. Anyway, thanks for listening. And we'll catch you guys next time. Oh, actually, before we end, Liv, where can people find you in terms of Instagram?
Oh, you can find me at Live Fit Live Healthy. I think there is a dot between those two.
Okay. Probably something you should know.
Yeah, you can find me there. I do have a website and blog that will be published in the next 2 weeks, or probably by the time this airs. So definitely go check that out. It's livefitlivehealthy.com. Cool. And I'm going to have tons of just lifestyle, fitness, wellness things on there.
Cool. And then stay tuned for that energy ball. I don't know how long it'll take for us to dial it in. We're going to basically spend a long time dialing in a good, delicious formula that tastes really good and doesn't taste like it should be healthy, but like we said, is super low in sugar, high in fat, high in protein. And once we refine that, we're going to just source really good, high quality ingredients and try and make these things available for a fair price, for just a price that reflects good value. So stay tuned for that. And thanks again for tuning in. We'll catch you later.